Hey there, I'm Helen King, a brand new singer-songwriter playing the London indie rock music scene. Listen to my personal story on Networking Magazine podcast. From being a music lover from a young age to releasing my own debut album, Look Back No More, out now. 10 tracks of anthemic, melodic, emotive indie rock. You can get a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how it felt to launch my debut album at the iconic London venue, The Water Rats, on the 11th of February 2025. Look Back No More by Helen King's out now on all major streaming platforms.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Jibber Jabber, the vocal part of the Networking Magazine with me, your host, Sanj Saigal. You might recognize him from his powerful performance as Fabian in the acclaimed film Somewhere in Montana, or from Disney's viral sensation Counting Scars. His career spans thought-provoking dramas, innovative TV series, and even the world of audio storytelling, with the podcast No Other Way. But Matt's journey is more than just impressive credits. He's a dedicated craftsman who invests in his art, whether training with the industry's best or drawing on his black belt discipline to bring depth and authenticity to every role. Now he's forging a new path as a producer with his own company developing its first feature film. He's a storyteller at heart, committed, bringing fresh, meaningful narratives to the screen and building creative communities along the way. Offset, his passions for martial arts, sports, and travel ground and inspire him. Matt Drago, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sanj. It's a pleasure to be here.
What an intro.
That was incredible. That was amazing.
Thank you. It's so nice to catch up with you. Just for the audience, so where are you at the moment? You're in where? Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, yep.
Wow, nice. And have you always been in Los Angeles or did you move there?
No, I actually grew up in a small rural town in Virginia, and New York just kind of made sense because I had a lot of family that lived there. My grandmother had lived there my whole entire life in the same apartment for 60 years. And so when I basically got to the age where I was figuring out where I was going to spread my wings, New York City made the most sense. And I got to live with my grandmother through my college years and really just take advantage fully of studying with the best, because I've always said, you know, if you're going to want to be the best at something, you want to be around people that make you better. And so my grandma was a big advocate for that. And it was just an amazing opportunity to be in one of the biggest cities in the world and just get to come home every night.
Yeah, really nice. Look, you've got a nice story. Love your story. You're kind of like this hard action man type thing. You've got this persona of martial arts and everything else, and yet you've just got this very soft side of you. So let's begin let's start at the beginning. You've worn many hats across film, television, audio drama. What's your approach to acting? How does it shift between these different formats?
I think it's a fluid process. I think you, as an artist, can never really be too set in your ways. That's kind of when you get stuck in something. So I like to take the approach of just learning everything and kind of almost throwing paint at the wall, like a Jackson Pollock, and just kind of seeing what makes sense given the circumstances of the production, given the circumstances of the role and the story that I'm trying to convey with my work in the story, because, you know, an actor's piece is just one piece in the grand scheme of the collaborative process of making art, right? And making a story come to life. So yeah, for me, it's always just fun to kind of really take the character in and then just kind of do my homework and just to kind of see which direction and which path the role takes me.
Nice. Okay, well, look, your role as Fabian in Somewhere in Montana has received a lot of attention. What initially attracted you to that character, and how did you prepare for the part?
Gosh, Sanj, everything. I mean, that role to me is what little Matt Drago growing up dreamed of doing with his life in acting. I've always felt there is such an incredible power to storytelling, and we should all tell stories, whether they're on screen or not, because it's perpetuating feeling. It's perpetuating, the humanity that we all live with every single day of our life. And so, for me, Fabian really spoke to me early on because Brandon Smith, who is the writer and the director of the project, he put two people from two different worlds in an impossible situation that they needed to work themselves out of. And for your listeners, the story basically takes place as me playing Fabian Verdugo, who is a filmmaker, and he is making a legacy film, something that he feels, can leave an imprint on the world and showcase some light on female empowerment and just perpetuating a more progressive, I don't know, let's say, just a, I don't know, more together type of feeling. When he makes his films, he wants to bring people together. He wants people to feel that everyone has a place, I think is where he is. And a lot of backstory that I wrote about Fabian kind of took that into account. John is played by my friend Graham McTavish, and he's a Montana rancher, and he just wants to be, in his world doing what he loves, which is providing for his family and doing the odds and ends jobs that exist when you are working on a cattle ranch. And we shot on a real cattle ranch in Montana.
Oh my God.
And we're two totally different people, like I said, and we butt heads right away because the narrative of my film is not something that he agrees with, and I don't necessarily jive with maybe who he is as a person at first, and we judge each other, and there's just that dissonance that we find right now in the world with a lot of people because we hide behind things, we hide behind screens, we hide behind social media, but when you're actually physically with a person, I think a lot of those walls come down, and this is a story that really showcases that. What made me fall in love with this film, to answer your question, was a 10-page scene that is just Graham and I, and we go through all of the, political, cultural, religious elements that you could probably, fight about with so many people right now, and we're just listening to each other. And so it really spoke to me in a way that, like, as an actor, this is something that I've always wanted to do, is tell stories that I feel like meet the moment. And I feel like this one really does that in a more profound and powerful way than I could have ever dreamed of. Yeah.
You're very creative. You're a creative guy. Yeah, like that. Okay, look, you've worked with lots of, a few renowned acting coaches. Am I right? You've worked with a few. Is that a necessary component of being an actor, the coaching side? 'Cause some actors say, well, I've never had a lesson. I've never had any coaching. I just fell into it. And there are others that, have gone down the traditional route by getting an acting coach and working at your craft and developing it. What about you? I mean, you say it made a big difference. How did it make that difference to you?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
She's an emerging talent in the modeling world who makes no secrets of also balancing her time with music and digital media, working with iconic brands such as Yves Saint Laurent, Revolution Makeup, and Shane, to name a few. Maria Valentina shares her professional and personal journey with us. Maria's magazine editorial is available on our website in glossy print and in a Catwalk Diaries digital magazine. Visit networkingmagazine.co.uk or check out our bio for details.
I I think it made a difference for me because it gave me the opportunity to explore my craft and really develop what my own process was going to look like, but also learn a lot of different methodologies. And that's everything from the method approach, which I gravitated towards in developing Fabian somewhere in Montana, to Stanislavski, to Meisner, to even Kabuki training, which actually resonated with me quite a bit because it's, body work and a lot to do with breath and being in the same space with other people. So for me, I think training is great, but I think sometimes you can also overdo it where sometimes you get in your head. And I know it's a question that was brought up, but, some of the best acting advice that I've ever gotten in my life was from a acting teacher that I studied with in college, Kevin Connell. And he was the kindest, most nurturing acting teacher that I could have ever imagined. Like, you felt so safe being in his class. And I also did a Shakespeare. I did Richard II with him at Marymount Manhattan College. And it was just a really sweet but profound thing that he said to me one day in class, because at that point I was studying with a lot of different teachers and really just trying to be the best, but almost to my own detriment, if I'm being honest, because I just really wanted to show people how much work I was doing. And the reality with acting is it's almost like, the Olympics are going on right now, like figure skating. I mean, some of the stuff that they do is extraordinary. It's perfection, but they make it look effortless. And that's how you podium. That's how you get, the top scores. And so I think there was a time when I was in college where I just felt like I was doing so much and I was working so hard, and I was, working with Terry Schreiber, who really became like a grandfather to me outside of college, in his studio class. I was studying with Ron Shetler, one of the top vocal teachers in New York City. I was studying audition technique with Michael Levine, who knew all of the casting directors and all the productions and was just giving me... So I felt like I was at the point where I was, in a way, overloading myself. And it wasn't until one day in class where Kevin came up to me and I had taken on like a couple extra scenes and again, just trying to get, my good grades and do, show people how much I was working really, really hard. And he came up to me. And I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on your podcast, but I'm about to.
I could, keep
you can bleep it out, right?
I can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do it without the curse word, but you'll get the point. He came up to me and he said, "Matt, you're a real A+ actor, aren't you?" And it just wasn't a compliment. It really was. It wasn't a compliment even when he said it. Yeah. And he looked at me in the most caring way, and he put his hand delicately on my shoulder and looked right in my eyes. And he said, "Matt, you need to learn how to F up." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just a real eye-opener for me that I needed to take all the work that I'd been doing. I needed to take all of the methodologies that I had learned. And at a certain point, when I was ready, and that's usually when you are acting up against another great actor, you just absolutely just let it go. You let all of that go, and you just feel the other person's energy, and you know that all the backstory is there, so you've done your work.
Sure.
But it was a real eye-opening moment for me in my life because he gave me the freedom to not have to show the work, just to do the work and then let it go.
Yeah, interesting. So you're basically a perfectionist, aren't you? You're a bit of a
I don't know.
perfectionist.
I think I was. I was. That's a great point. I think I was at a certain point, and I think I've learned that, and every gig is different. That's the thing, Sanj.
Sure,
It's like when
sure.
you're in a film like I am with Somewhere in Montana, and you have over a year to live with the character. I mean, you can get obsessive. You can be a perfectionist.
Do you take it home with you, and your friends go, "Hey, come on,
Oh,
you're
it
in
lives with
character
you.
again."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fabian has the little nervous tick where he rolls an Irish penny. I can't remember a TV
really?
show or
Oh my
a
God.
downtime when I was petting my dog where I wasn't rolling my Irish penny for a whole solid year,
Oh my God.
So yeah, there are parts of it that they have to bring you joy at the end of the day. Like if you are pursuing this life as an artist, you are doing it because of the joy it brings you.
Sure.
And if you're not doing it for that reason and for that reason, then you kind of have to look
You're
at
in the
it
wrong
and
place.
say,
Yeah.
exactly.
But the one thing that strikes me about, I wanted to ask you about your route into acting. Was it a traditional route? You were, waiting tables, and you'd moved, and you were doing all the traditional, working in retail or working at bars and that sort of thing, and working late, hardly any sleep, going for auditions. What was it like for you as, an actor getting started?
It's a hustle. It's a real hustle in New York City. It was crazy. I mean, there would be nights, Sanj, where I would close a bar at 4 or 5 a.m. and then have a 9 a.m. Audition. So I would just get, I would go to the Good Stuff Diner on 14th Street and have a really long breakfast and drink a lot of coffee and, sit with my pages for a little bit and then go do my audition and then sleep it off and then probably have to take another shift. I mean, it makes you hungry when you haven't been given it, when it's come from your own efforts. And a lot of the money that I made in New York City went right back into my acting career. Because again, for me, I really did want to learn from the best. And so all that money I made, I luckily enough had a place to live. Grandma wasn't charging me rent. And so I was able to, really just spend that money on focusing, on my craft.
Really nice story. Really nice story. Do you ever look back now and say, you know what, I could have done that a little bit differently? Or do you sort of learn from the past and say, no, if time went backwards, I'd do it all again? Would there be something you'd change about what's happened to you?
I think it's impossible to do that. Sometimes you do naturally, and I think we all fall into that trap, but
Absolutely.
I'm really proud of myself. I'm proud of my journey. I'm proud of the people that have brought me there. And, I think in many ways, like if there were specific moments that maybe I could go back and do something different, I think everybody in this world would say, sure, absolutely. But I'm proud of the road that has brought me to this moment where I'm talking to you right now. And I think really cherishing like that type of the process and the journey in life ultimately gives you more power to continue forward.
Yeah. Well, you're one of the interesting aspects about you is that you've worked one side of the camera, and now you're behind. Well, not behind it, but you're producing. What's going on? I mean, how did you get involved in that? Did you just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to do this? How did you sort of make that transition over to production as well, to include that under your belt, so to speak?
More and more actors are doing it. And I think the reality is, everybody has an evolutionary process to something that they love, right? And I think for me, I have realized how much I love acting. It's the first love of my life. But I think more so, I have realized of late how much it's about being around my people and collaborating and creating something together. Whether I'm an actor and I'm 12th on the call sheet, second on the call sheet, whether I'm helping figure out, how to pull things together and get funding for a project I'm passionate about. I think it's really just pulling a team together and telling a story that's bigger than all of us. And so I think that methodology kind of really does create this world where you're like, gosh, I love seeing it from, the inside out, but what if I could see it from the outside in? And that's why you see so many people find a team of people that they trust, that they love. They become your family. And, if you can do it one time successfully, then hopefully you can do it another time successfully. And so, I think that my evolutionary process as an artist is not to just wait for, quote unquote, the phone to ring with an agent or a manager getting me a call, but figuring out the stories that matter to me and finding out a way to bring them to life.
I know that you're working on a feature film. Can you talk about that? Is it all hush hush? You can't give us any spoilers. Is there something you could say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife
spoilers.
and I have a production company. Yeah, we have a production company, and that's the thing. It might be a ways off, but we're at script right now. It's a Christmas film, and it's a beautifully written film, and it takes place in the hometown that we're both originally from in Virginia, in Front Royal. And so it's a dream. It's something that it exists on paper, but the next part would be to figure out how to bring it to fruition. And there's a lot of things right now going on with me auditioning with her. She's got a short film out right now, and she's going to film festivals for that. So we're trying to figure out the right time and place to, create that and to make it kind of a full circle moment, because my dad still lives in that town. My mother-in-law, her mom still lives in that town. And so we're just trying to, keep it on the back burner, but it's definitely a passion project that we want to see it come to fruition in the future.
Are you unusual for wanting to produce a feature film? I know you said a lot of people are getting involved with the other side of the camera in production, but production is one thing, but actually putting that story, trying to make it into fruition, doing the circuit, how involved are you in that? Is that what your wife is doing at the moment? Are you involved in making, going around that film circuit, promoting, trying to raise funds?
Yeah, I mean, I think where it starts usually is trying to find some type of grant, and that is the case with somewhere in Montana too. So, I think we have a lot of things going on individually right now in our careers that we feel like could help that next step to being a little bit more established. That way we can get that grant, because that grant can be used to attract, a couple, a more established actors, and then that gives you wings to be able to get people, they're called built-ins, where, you take a production maybe to a smaller part of the country, and, that person that works in that lumber yard, or that person that owns that bar. And so it's just, it's one of those things that builds. There's no concrete path to it, but, we've done some workshops with Sundance, just to kind of learn the nuts and bolts of things. And we go back and we're always trying to get better, because ultimately, it's new for me, but the things that I feel like I'm really good at are pitching, and advocating, because that's kind of what I've been doing my whole life as an actor. And if I'm also an actor in it, and I can show my work as an actor, and she can show her work as a writer, it just kind of is. It kind of builds a case for us to create something and to have people be attracted to the next story that we're trying to tell.
I like your story. We're going to have to bring you and your wife on the show at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, Disney, big name, right? Counting scars. What's going on? I mean, I'm not worthy. So tell me about that. Tell me about it.
It was so fun, Sanj. We went to the Disney we went to Disney Studios in Burbank, and we got to go to the recording studio. We got to go to their costume department, and for me, I was kind of hoping that the rendition of Scar that they were going to try to make was not too much in we'll say a cat-like look. I was kind of hoping that they would kind of make it almost a little bit more of that Lion King sort of thing. And so they made him evil, and, we just kind of found the costume together. But yeah, it went viral. And I think that was really just because, Will Trowbridge and just who directed it, like really put a lot of love into it, found some really, really great actors. Actually, one of them, Austin Scott, went on to be in Hamilton on Broadway, and he's been in a couple Broadway shows now. And we just really, even though it was, I think, only a 5-day shoot altogether, we just had a blast with it because it was, just kind of a really cool parody. And, just to be able to go into the recording booth and try different things, like that last laugh. If you listen to it again, that last laugh was the last thing that I did in the recording booth, and they just wanted me to do something like completely out of left field. And I said, what if Scar was just like maniacal in this moment? I go to and basically I did that, and they just were like, God, you know what, Matt, that was nuts, but I think we might use it. And they ended up using it. So it's just, there's just so much fun that can happen when a group of people just are enjoying what they do, and it rubs off. I always say, like, from the top down, it's no different with Summer in Montana. Like, they create an ecosystem for everybody to thrive in, and that's what's so beautiful about making art.
Wow. Okay, you mentioned being deeply influenced by Al Pacino, aren't we all? What have you learned from observing or interacting with him, and how has he inspired your journey?
Well, I used to live right by my grandma's apartment right across the street, actually, on 79th and Broadway. And so we used to go to the same diner. And, I just, for me, growing up, being part Sicilian and just gravitating towards the way he did the work. And, just being that kid that would watch the same scene from The Godfather, which I've watched that scene at the dining room table probably about 20 times in the last day, because
I think I beat you 21.
The late Robert Duvall, right? And
absolutely.
He actually was he lived in Virginia. I actually know some people since we're talking about it that taught him how to fly fish or sold him a house. He was very involved in being just a part of the community. And what a tremendous loss, but what a great life, and what an incredible legacy. And I think about just studying people like Robert Duvall and studying people like Al Pacino, and just you get better by looking at those little moments, right? And studying and saying, how did he get there in that moment? How did he find that stillness? How did he find the depth of that performance? And just being curious, because being an actor is being curious. And if you have great idols and you study them almost obsessively, I think I was texting back and forth with a friend recently. It's like you just you see things almost through a different lens, because you just want to fully immerse yourself in what it took for them to create that character in that moment, And Al Pacino, that was one of his first big roles on screen, and even the studio head wasn't sure about him because he was a smaller guy, and how could he show that intensity? And so they bumped up the scene in the Italian restaurant. So
they say it was all in the eyes. His eyes did most of it. It was all in the eyes.
It was all in the eyes.
You have got a 4th degree black belt in karate. Come on. It's perfect. You are the perfect guy. You're a 4th degree black belt, right? And you've got nice hair as well. I don't get it. It's not fair. So tell me, karate is a very physical sport. You ever worried about that? With acting, getting hit, getting injured, stopping production, whatever. So how does it work? Or has it enhanced your ability to act because of the confidence, perfectionism? Has karate helped you?
Absolutely. Growing up in a dojo has kind of been a counterbalance to the artistic side, but, remember that it's martial arts, right? So there
Right.
is an art to it. And I'm lucky enough that, I grew up with my father, who is my sensei, and actually is
Right.
the longest sensei in one dojo in this country at the Front Royal Karate Club
No
in
way.
Virginia. Yeah, he's
Oh my
been there
God.
for about 5 decades now.
Right.
And he has just brought really so much love into the
Mm-hmm.
practice, and it really has created this incredible family. And there is something simplistic about getting on the deck and doing a kata or a fixed
Mm-hmm.
kumite, because you're ultimately trying to find the movement within yourself. And
Sure.
how perfect when you think about acting, because it's the same thing. It's that you're
Right.
trying to find what that character is and how that movement is created within yourself, and you do different things to get you there. And
Sure.
so I think for me, karate has been just this, like I said, an incredible counterbalance in my life, because I love it. I love
Sure.
acting. It feels like an escape, but it also feels like a bridge where sometimes I, need to go outside and just do a kata and stop, maybe doing
Sure.
some
Sure.
like backstories for my
Yeah.
for my
Yeah.
roles, or just kind of
It's
finding a way
incredibly
to
disciplined.
escape.
Yeah. It's incredibly
It's an
disciplined.
incredible discipline, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, I grew up like a karate kid, and
Yeah.
I grew
Yeah.
up as the kid that everybody wanted a piece of, right? Because
Yeah. Right. Right.
everybody knew I was the sensei's son. But I've never
Yeah.
gotten into a fight in my life, and that's because I
Wow.
feel like I know how
Yeah.
to handle myself and
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
carry myself. And
Yeah.
that's so much a part of martial arts that my dad has taught me too. It's not about the
Yeah.
trophy. It's not about competitions. My dad doesn't do competitions. It's the self practice.
Yeah.
And that is very much how I look at acting. Is it's your practice. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about, what you do to connect to the characters, to connect to the story, and
Yeah.
to find the most joy that you can in it.
Wow. You were rumored to have lost about 25 pounds for Fabian. Was that through martial? I mean, did you have to diet heavily? Did you train more? Did you, how did you lose 25 pounds? What's your secret, Matt? Come on, tell me the secret.
Well, don't sell me short, Sanj. I did actually lose 30 pounds for the role, but
No way.
but
Really?
yeah, I
Oh
did.
my
I did,
God.
and the way that I did it was, again, I'm a very
Hang on, let me get a
keen
pen and
proponent.
paper. Let me get a pen and paper.
I'm a very big proponent of hiring masters of craft, and there are just so many masters. It
Yeah.
takes a village, right? And so I hired an incredible nutritionalist team, Jennifer and
Wow.
Nathan DeTracy, and
Right.
I said, listen, for this character, I feel like he forgets to eat meals. He's driven, and I feel like I need to just lean out. I don't care if I'm losing muscle in the process. And so they built a nutrition plan that was essentially 5 to 6 very, very small, low-calorie meals. It was essentially kitchen and cardio. That was the plan.
Wow.
And they developed this whole plan, and I worked out at certain times during the day, and I ate certain meals before and after my workouts, and I was in a caloric deficit. And,
My God.
again, it's not easy.
No.
A lot of the work that actors do is really on par, I gotta
Yeah.
say, with athletes. It's just in a different way, because
Sure.
we are kind of doing it more for a visual narrative. Like, let's talk about one of my favorite quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, right?
Right.
They were giving him crap a couple years ago because he had kind of like a flabby midsection, but he does that specifically because he
Right.
needs that protection there. It doesn't mean he's out of shape. It means
Yeah.
that he's developed a body type that allows him to play the sport at a high level. Well, acting is a little bit different because you've got, a camera on you in a different
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
so, for me, I feel like being in the body of the character is so necessary. If I don't feel like I'm waking up and I'm not in the body of the character, I feel like something's off. And for me, it was, ironically, I had a year with this character, and it wasn't until about a couple months before I was literally going to shoot that I woke up one day and something just felt wrong.
Yeah.
It felt
Wow.
wrong. And I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what it was. I had, I do crazy stuff. Like I said, I journal in my character's voice. I, create playlists of music that I feel like he'll listen to, anything to get me in. But there was something that day that just felt really wrong, and I couldn't figure it out. And I walked around, and I think I like caught myself in a mirror, and I'm like, I have like, big arms, and I'm like, because I like to lift weights and stuff like that. And so, for me, I was just like, this is not who Fabian is. He's not going to the gym, he's concentrated on this story, and he doesn't, he sometimes he concentrates more on other people than he does himself, which is like, maybe he forgets to eat meals and things like that. And so it was at that point where I reached out to people that were pros and nutritionalists, because I say this to anybody that's going to do something as nuts as I did, especially in 2 weeks, like, do it healthy, do it healthy. Find people that can really make you eat nutrients and take care of yourself. Because I was doing it. I was doing it, very quickly. And I wish in hindsight I'd done it a little bit sooner. But in a way, it kind of perpetuated this narrative that Fabian lives with in the movie, which is that he's always against the clock. He's always rushing towards something, his legacy. And so it kind of, in a weird way, became a part of the rush for my character that I brought right into set when I landed in Montana 8 weeks later.
So be honest, after it was over, did you just look around the room and just everyone who you were looking at looked like pizza, kebabs? Did you go straight for the food? What happened? Did you put the weight back on quickly? I mean, you lost it pretty quick. Did you put it back on, or did you then maintain that sort of weight category?
There's a great thing that Jennifer and Nathan DeTracy say, and they are, athletes, but they're also nutritionalists. Is that you want to stay at your 80, and whatever your 80 is, and that's your 80% essentially. So it's where an actor could put on more muscle, could lose more weight. So I think it was actually a bridge to me to get to my 80. Now, to be perfectly honest, when I finished Fabian and moved on, I started lifting weights again because it's something I enjoy. I started to do, not necessarily all cardio, and I started to drink my protein shakes again. So did I gain muscle weight back? Yes, but I felt like it was a really, really good thing for me, because it brought me to a place where I felt like I trained myself to be able to slim down if I needed to bulk up if I needed to. And that's something that is a constant process, right? And so I think it really taught me a lot to do it in a very tight timeline. But I feel like right now I have learned how to be at my 80. You don't want to be, just absolutely destroying yourself to be in that game shape all the time, because you'll burn yourself out. And there's a lot of reasons why it's not good for your health and stuff like that. So I think that's a really great way that I've learned how to do it. And actually this role taught me how to do it, was stay at your 80, be healthy enough where you can, lose that last little bit, or gain a little bit more muscle, or gain a little bit more fat. If you need to, whatever the role entails, it's good to not go too drastic too quickly, to kind of build towards it. And that's why you've got, these incredible nutritionalists that help you do it.
Interesting. Okay, well, look. What about the next 5 years for Matt Drago? What's your 5 years look like? Your next 5 years. What are you dreaming about? What are your goals? Because you're such a perfectionist, I'm guessing you have post-it notes all over your mirror, and you look at them every day and say, "Right, have I achieved this? Have I achieved that?" Are you that type of guy? You are a perfectionist. What does your 5-year plan look like?
Yeah, it's little fires everywhere. I mean, you kind of have to build a bridge. It's momentum. It's
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to market yourself. It's having conversations like I am right now with you today. It's
Right.
sharing the message not just of who I am on screen, but who I am off screen, and that's really valuable. And that's why I don't take these conversations lightly, because
Right.
I think, as an artist, people, and this is the great thing about social media, they want to know, not necessarily what you stand for as an artist and
Sure.
what stories you're trying to tell, but who you are as a person, who you are off the field of play.
Sure.
Some of my favorite interviews or parts of sports are the interviews
Right.
after the actual game is played.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
think it's no different that, being, on interviews, sharing your message, and
Sure.
hiring a PR company, which I did. I work with Mia Hansen over at Portrait PR, doing some articles and getting those types of things. Your
Right.
wonderful article that you wrote, thank you again for
You're
the
welcome.
networking magazine. It's beautiful, but
Thank you.
it's really it's again, those people become part of your extended family, your team, because it takes more than just you. And if you have that humility, you know that pretty early on. I knew it really early on. I grew up literally, doing community theater, and
Wow.
dinner theater was my first paying job, and I would sing my ballad, and then I would go
Right.
refill people's drinks and clear plates. And so I'm all about the collaborative process, and it's no different than what we're doing here today.
Right.
We're collaborating.
Right. Absolutely.
You're giving me a platform to share my story, my message. So in answer to your question, it's I go back to little fires everywhere, because it's finding ways to
Sure.
show people my work, and somewhere in Montana, reaching out to casting directors, giving my agents and my manager the tools that they need to make us all successful. Because I
Yeah.
say that, it's my vision, it's my body of work, but it takes the people behind the scenes to make that happen, to get
Yeah.
me into those rooms. So,
Yeah.
giving them those articles, and yes, I've shared your article with them,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
because it's about building bridges, like I
Right.
said,
Yeah.
it's about,
Yeah.
hey, look at what this
I
wonderful
hope they
article
liked
that
it.
was written. They
I hope
loved
they
it.
liked.
They absolutely
Yeah.
loved it. Well, it gives them
Great.
a little bit more. The thing is, and this is the honest truth, and this is what's been told to me many times, is that managers are proactive and agents are reactive, meaning
Right.
that managers should take a more hands-on approach to knowing you, to creating like your long-term goals. But a lot of
Sure.
agents, they take on a lot of clients, and they're kind of like point and click, and
Yeah.
dropping your
Yeah.
reel over here and putting this, and then pitching you and this and that.
Yeah.
So when I can hand them your article, and I can just give them like a 5-minute read where they're like, oh wow, I feel like I know a little bit more
Nice.
about Matt and what he's about and what he stands for as an artist. It helps me,
Great. That's
help
nice.
us, right? Because
Yeah.
it's all about forward momentum. So
Yeah.
I think I've learned different ways in marketing myself, but also doing it from a really humble, proud perspective, because I've overcome a lot. And so when I have conversations like this, and when I meet people like you, I don't take it lightly. I take it as a really, really exciting new part of the journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy they like the work. That's really good. Yeah. If for those members in the audience who don't know, Matt appeared in Cypher Edition 4, which is in print and also in digital format. So yeah, check the website for more details. Okay, Matt. What about unwinding? What do you do to unwind? A guy like you, fishing? No. The lake? What do you do to unwind?
There aren't many lakes by me, but I did grow up in Virginia, so I actually used to fish on my stepfather's property at
Wow.
Marriott Ranch. He was the sous chef there, and
Okay.
I lost him a couple years back.
Sorry.
And he was my best friend, and ironically, I used a lot of his loss in the development of my
Right.
character in Somewhere in Montana. And I did that because of my acting teacher, Terry Schreiber, who
Right.
had a wonderful talk back with Alfred Molina, who was a close friend. And I remember this. This was really right out of college. And Alfred was having a really difficult time. He had just lost a parent. And
Right.
and he was struggling because he was like, I find myself, because my character lost a relative recently, putting
Right.
this back into my work, and it feels disingenuous. I feel guilty for it. And,
Yeah.
Terry looked at him in that moment and he said, no, Alfred, you're paying honor to him.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
pay honor to the people that you love by putting your love for them and your memories of
Yeah.
them back into the work. And so when you said fishing just then, I was like, well, I don't in LA because I
Yeah.
don't really live close to a lake, but I did
Yeah.
grow up on a lake with
Interesting.
Chaz, my stepfather, fishing, and it was something that I loved because I would just, it didn't matter if I caught a fish. It was about being
Yeah.
on the water
Well, it's
and just
therapeutic.
reflecting. It's
Yeah.
therapeutic. And so I
Yeah.
find ways to do that in the hustle and bustle of a big city. It can be a little bit
Sure.
more difficult, but as I
Yeah.
was saying earlier, I go to a park. I
Yeah.
do my katas, in a park.
Yeah.
I bike around, the Santa Clarita Valley in Valencia,
Sure.
and
Nice.
sometimes go on a 20-mile bike ride and just blast music into my ears. I
Wow.
watch sports, because
Right.
sports is an escape for me. It
Yeah.
isn't my medium, but it's a medium that I love and I understand because athletes are putting everything into that moment, almost
Sure.
like we do as actors. And so I think
Yeah.
there's actually a lot more crossover in the acting world and the athletic world as you actually would, care to imagine. And I've actually done a couple sports podcasts recently where I've bridged the gap and talked a little sports, but also,
Yeah.
yeah.
You've got a podcast, haven't you? There was, or at least you were involved in a podcast. Tell me about that. That's a recent thing, isn't it?
I've done a bunch of podcasts this year that are in different mediums, and it's just
Right.
been really great. Spirituality podcasts that are based more on sports, podcasts that are, based more on business. And
Right.
it's interesting because there's, I always say, like, you follow the host's lead, right? But I
Right.
think that sometimes, like, the narrative can be kind of interesting because there is so much crossover that happens
Sure.
when you are an actor, because you are just kind of built to be this, kind of empath. And
Right.
so, there is that crossover where someone in business maybe isn't taught to be like that way, but there
Yeah.
is a lot of business that we deal with. I mean, it is
Yeah.
a
It is a
business that
business.
we're in.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
business. Yeah.
absolutely. Talking of a business, we have someone in business who's asked the question. This is one that was sent in by Sarah from Hedge Travel. Her cousin's boyfriend is an actor, yet to make his break into the industry. And she wants to know, what's the best way to get noticed at auditions? It's a good question.
That's a wonderful question, and thank you so much, Sarah, for that. First of all, I'm going to go on an aside and just, because I'm listening to the way that the question is phrased, I would try not to look at it like a break. I know that's something that is thrown around a lot, but I think more so what you should tell him is just enjoy it, just really
Right.
enjoy storytelling, enjoy acting, and specifically enjoying auditioning is a big part of that. And so now I go into your question about the audition itself. The audition is the win. I
Right.
saw a friend recently post, and it was a beautiful post about, in the last month, she's had 8 auditions, 0 callbacks, and 0 bookings, and what a successful month it was. And I was
Wow.
like, God, that is beautiful, because the win is the audition. It means that you can do this, and this is what I would tell your boyfriend. Really find the creativity in it, because the reality is you are uniquely bringing yourself to that role. And nowadays with auditions, you can do it in the most creative ways. Now, I'm not telling you to pull out a bunch of props. Casting directors don't like that. But if you need to shoot it in a different way, if you need to move around a little bit more for one audition, if you need to sit still for another audition, do what makes you comfortable in your own space, frame it accordingly, make sure that there's good lighting and sound, obviously, but have fun with it and take risks. Taking risk is insanely important when it comes to auditioning. And I will go to another master of craft that I worked with, who actually was at Terry Schreiber's studio. His name is Sam Christensen, and we lost him a few years back, but he was the casting director for one of the most successful shows of all time, MASH. Wow. And he was so incredible at finding different actors around New York, whether it was at the Public Theater or on Broadway or somebody that he just saw on tape once. And he just had this incredible mind of categorizing actors and kind of feeling what and he created a dynamic word for it, what their myth was, what they gave off that only uniquely they could give off. And so it was a really cool workshop that I took with him, and I think that's something that I try to deliver in all of my auditions. And it doesn't matter the role that I play; it's that I'm being honest to who I am, and I'm bringing my myth to the character. So finding out what your myth is, finding out uniquely who you are, and sometimes that takes we used to go into this class and people would throw words out there about how you resonated to people, and you own those types of things, because you're looking at someone's face, you're looking at their eyes, and you might be like, oh, this guy's a little bit more this, or he's a little bit more that. Finding out what you give off as a person and owning that and harnessing it as a power that you have as an actor, and then taking risks in the audition, that is ultimately going to be what gives you not necessarily your break, but it's going to harness your joy in the art of storytelling and acting. And when you do that, I believe you become a beacon of light, and things will find you the way that they're supposed to.
Sound advice. Matt, I could talk to you all night. Thank you so.
Or all day in my case, because I'm LA and you're in England,
London. Yeah,
London,
we'll have to get you back on the show at some point. Maybe with your wife, you can talk about the movie. I'd love to know more about that. You can follow Matt's story on Instagram. His details are in the podcast description box. Please like and follow our show as well. Don't forget that. That's what it's all about. Till next time. Bye for now. Cypher Issue 2 is out now. In this edition, we feature singer-songwriter Kelsey Watts, who performed on The Voice. She's just released her new single, Fit In. We also interview Helen King, a talented indie singer-songwriter who's gaining international attention. Actor and producer Jonathan Stoddard shares his personal and professional journey with us, and we also talk to martial artist James Sang Lee, who's worked as an actor, stuntman, and fight choreographer in movies like Lethal Weapon 4 and Plane, starring Gerard Butler. You can buy Cypher in print or read it online at our website, networkingmagazine.co.uk. Check the bio for details.